Hi, everyone. Welcome to the History 357 Ancient Rome course. I'm Dr. Young. I'll be your instructor. This video serves as a kind of introduction to the course to go over the course requirements and the learning outcomes and those sorts of things. One thing to note is that I will do an optional live session every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And so wherever you are in the world, I'll actually be out of the country for some of the time I'm doing this course myself, but wherever you are in the world, please adjust to make sure that you tune in. If you like, it is optional. This is not required. This is an asynchronous course. This is just for you to talk to me directly if you have questions, if you want to talk over assignments. I have found with these courses that students who attend the live sessions tend to do pretty well, or at least are able to keep up with what's going on in the course well. And so consider your schedule. These usually last only a few minutes, maybe half an hour or something like that. Really, I'm there to, for as long as you like, for whatever you'd like to talk about related to the course. This will be on Zoom. Here is the link to that. Sorry, it's not hyperlinked, but hopefully you can just copy and paste that into your browser and get there. This course is a survey in a sense. It's an upper division course, but it does cover nearly 1,000 years of history. We're going to be talking about the political, religious, economic, cultural, and social development of the Roman Republic and eventually the empire. These are separate distinctions. I think the empire is probably more famous, but the Roman Republic is arguably more influential, at least in terms of its long-term influence, and we'll talk somewhat about that. This is going to go from around the 8th century BCE, when Rome has its legendary founding date, though that is obviously a legend, until about the 5th century CE, so more than 1,000 years, really, though it will really hone in on specific centuries, spend a lot of time, for instance, on the late Republic and the early Empire. From, say, Julius Caesar, or rather a little earlier than Julius Caesar through the reign of Augustus Caesar. We'll spend, fully like 2 weeks on that of the course. We will be dealing with both primary and secondary sources. Hopefully, as students of history, you understand the distinction there. If you're not aware of this, primary sources are things that come from the time period in question, and secondary sources are modern scholars interpreting the history from that period using their reading and analysis of primary sources. We will read a couple of monographs written by scholars in recent times. One of these is actually a little bit older. It was written in the 1980s originally. Has further editions that have updated it. But these are still relatively recent things even with that. And so you need to grapple with both of these. And hopefully that won't be too difficult a proposition. But one thing to note about any history of the pre-modern world, and the further back in time you go, the fewer sources are available. And so one of the things I like to tell students about Roman history and Greek history as well when I teach that is it is feasible within maybe just a few years of rather intense reading to read and even to master, we might say, all of the known primary sources from ancient Rome. And one of the first things that we're going to do is read an essay about the sources, what sources are available, right? It'd be wonderful if we had, the Journal of Julius Caesar or something like that, where he kept his most private thoughts and talked about his own kind of motives for doing what he did. We have nothing like that, of course. He did write an account of some of his wars and things, but that was, kind of political propaganda, right? And so the sorts of sources that you might be familiar with from doing more recent history, many of these are just not available, right? So we need to become conversant or even fluent in the sorts of sources that are available for this. To study ancient history, right? Now, because antiquity is so far removed from us, it's a very different world, right? One of the things that I, as a historian, try to embrace is the notion of alterity. That is to note and even to try to get comfortable with the fact that if you're researching, if you're reading about, if you're looking into history, you're going to find cultures and societies that are so different than our modern one, right? Now we might make assumptions that human nature hasn't changed or something like that, but I think far more has changed than hasn't. And even if we share a kind of common humanity with the people of the ancient world, they lived in such different circumstances. And so we have to be careful about what we'd call anachronism, right? Taking our own assumptions about how human beings operate into the past. Rather, I like to use the term productive puzzlement, right? If you encounter something, and you will this semester, this term, probably the first day that you read something, if you encounter something that is confusing, right, let that confusion sort of lead you then to ask good questions about it. Like, what's going on here, right? Why are they doing this? And to read further, to research, to have discussions with your classmates, including me, right? And to access as much information as you can to then offer a sort of analysis of this. There's so much room for interpretation in Roman history because it's so far removed from us and the sources are scarce, and there's so much unknown, so to speak. And that's really kind of exciting to be involved in an enterprise like that. This allows us to hone, really develop our critical thinking and close reading and effective writing skills. So that's really what the course is trying to achieve, right? Critical thinking, close reading, effective writing, the basics for history in general, and really for the humanities even more generally. There are 5 books that you need to obtain for this course. There's a textbook by Thomas W. Africa called The Immense Majesty. This one it's more than 30 years old, I'm afraid, and some parts of it are a little bit dated. He uses words that might even, on a couple of occasions, I just want to warn you about this, that might even be deemed offensive to our sensibilities. Okay, but I do like this. It's a good read. It's quite well written. It's more concise than some of the kind of standard textbooks on this. And so if we can get past those very dated ideas, right? So just as an example, you may be puzzled over what I'm saying. He refers to a later Roman emperor as I forget the exact terms he uses, but he uses the word transvestite, right? Which I think is definitely passé. That's not, we would not call someone who is a transvestite anymore. And he does it in a very derogatory fashion, right? Really betraying the assumptions and that people had about such things maybe 30 years ago that were quite common. Thankfully, we moved beyond that. And so just be aware that is a thing in this book. If you are uncomfortable with that, I can suggest an alternate textbook. But hopefully, we can, it's not generally, certainly not required that you read something offensive. This, give it a try, see what you think. I think you'll find that it's a decent read if we can just overlook those things or kind of ignore his biases, so to speak. There's not a lot else that is biased. It's just the stuff about gender and sexuality a little bit there. There is and this is even older, but this is just an edition of a lot of texts from antiquity. It's the Classics in Translation, Volume 2, Latin Literature book, which has a very good selection of texts from Roman history, right? Works of literature, diplomatic and political works, and works of philosophy, and even some letters and things like that have survived. And so a lot of our assignments every week, you'll have some readings in that, in the textbook, and then some readings in this source reader, right? These are all primary sources. I'm asking you to read one slightly longer primary source, which is a kind of novel from the 2nd century CE by Lucius Apuleius called The Golden Ass, otherwise known as The Metamorphosis. It's one of many works from antiquity called The Metamorphosis, but it's a cracking good story. It was actually one of the things that inspired William Shakespeare. He had read this and incorporated some imagery from that into some of his plays, most notably Midsummer Night's Dream. And then 2 monographs, Edward Watts's Mortal Republic, How Rome Fell into Tyranny. This is about the late Republic. It's quite a good read as well, fairly recent book, I think less than 10 years old. And then Robert L. Wilkins, The Christians as the Romans Saw Them, the most recent edition, which I think is the second edition. Sorry, I'm battling a cold here, so hopefully my voice doesn't give out. Anyway, these are things that we will read, and you'll have to write book reviews on. Okay. The most common assignment every single week you will have, you'll be required to participate in a discussion board. Now, the schedule's a little bit strange at the beginning of the semester. This term starts on a Wednesday, July 3rd, and the next day is technically a holiday, right, which is not supposed to be a class day. We would normally have our live session on that day, but I'm not going to hold that on July 4th in any case, right? And so normally the week runs from Monday to Sunday. However, because that first week is so screwed up, because it starts late and has a holiday right at the beginning of it, I'm going to change the schedule a little bit, and I'll show you this in a moment here, okay? And so there will be different due dates for the discussion board posts early in the term. Normally, the first initial post, and you have to post yourself before you can see what others post, and you should make a post of at least 250 words, right? Normally that will be on Thursday. However, the first week is going to be on Saturday. The second week is going to be on Friday, just because, I have to kind of adjust for this strange schedule at the beginning of the semester. The very last week is also short because they end the term on Friday. And so the first post that week needs to be made by Wednesday. So I would just say keep your eye on the course schedule, which is toward the end of the syllabus here. This will tell you exactly when these things need to be done in any specific week, right? So at the beginning of the week, and I will also post reminder announcements about each of these, okay? So this will tell you exactly when these things need to be done. So just keep that handy, and you should be fine, right? What do you do in a post? It's a good question, right? And so if I can actually, I hadn't planned to do this. Sorry, I'm a big tennis player, so I wanted to. Right, I've got some things pulled up here. So let me see if I can get to our course. All right. Sorry, I should have done this earlier. Had this ready to go. So you'll see that there are discussion boards for every week, right? And then under modules, and this is important, all of the requirements for every single week are here. Okay, so if you go to modules on Canvas and just look at what's here, you'll see this is includes every single thing you need to do, right, is here. Although I am changing the papers this is from an earlier version of the course that I just transported over. So some of these will be slightly different. There's no short paper the first week, for instance. And so, you watch the video lectures, you do the discussion board. If I click on the discussion board here, you'll see that there are some prompts, right? But then I say very clearly, you do not need to answer every one of these questions, and then feel free to expand any line of thinking you want here from the material. And also asking questions, right? Asking your own questions is really, really important to our study here, right? Because really the point of the discussion board is to have a shared conversation about the material that we're studying. And so make sure that you keep up on these. It's very easy in a summer term, especially as truncated as these are, right, to just lose track of this. I will not accept late discussion board submissions past the week, right? You can, if you don't get it done on Thursday, you could do it on Friday. You'll get a small point deduction. But once the week turns over and we're into the next week, I will not accept any more posts from the previous week. I've often had students at the very end of the term like, can I go back and do a bunch of discussion board posts? It's like, no, the point of a discussion board is to discuss while we're involved with that material, right? And so make sure that you keep up on these. Each week is worth 10 points. The initial post is, I say it's worth like 4 or 5, and the rest, the response post, you need to do at least a minimum of 3. That is a minimum. Often students do 3 and they're like, I'm done, okay? And moreover, right, these response posts should be more than just, hey, I like your post, good point, or something, right? I mean, these need to push conversation forward or ask questions, that arise as the conversation is going on. And so, make sure that you're taking these things seriously. It would be good to make more than 3 posts, right? I look favorably on that, so to speak. You're graded on the quality of your responses, to a lesser extent, the effectiveness of your writing. This doesn't have to be the most polished thing. Please do read it over before you actually, send the post, so to speak, and make sure it sounds okay. All right, if you have questions about this, I have another discussion board called Course Logistics, okay, right here. If you have questions about any of the requirements for the course, please post them here, because chances are if you have a question about this, somebody else is going to have a question about it, right? So make sure that you're asking them here. You're welcome to email me personally about anything, but it's good if you can ask this in a public forum. That way everybody has a chance to see the conversation about it. There are 3 sources that analyze three papers, I should say, that analyze primary sources. 2 of these are short and will have prompts, 3 to 4 pages, or roughly 1,000 to maybe 1,200 words is what I'm looking for there. And one of them is more in depth. This is the one on the Apuleius source, okay? And that one is not prompted, and I will talk through how to write an unprompted paper a little bit as we go on. Okay, you have to ask your own question. You have to come up with your own prompt. The shorter papers are worth 20 points each. The longer is worth 40. There are 2 book reviews. I'm actually going to change this on the fly here to say 4 to 5 pages. Actually, no, sorry. I'm going to say 3 to 4 pages. I have gone to somewhat shorter. I'm looking for 1,000 to 1,200 words. Okay. And I used to do 4 to 6, and often that was just too long. Okay, I think you can write a good book review in 3 to 4 pages. 2 monographs, Mortal Republic and The Christians as the Romans Saw Them. You need to read these. I have a set of book review guidelines that I provide. Here they are at the end of the syllabus. Right, so take a look through these and get a sense of what I'm looking for in a book review. And if you have questions, again, post them on the Course Logistics board. Talk to me personally, however you want to do that. All right, there is a final exam. This will be essays. I will probably post that long before it's even a thought in your mind, okay? I'll probably put the final exam up, 2-3 weeks before the end of the course, maybe even earlier, just to get you thinking about it. You will have some options of essays you want to write, but you can sort of keep track of these things as we go on. And you'll need to submit it by the Monday after the term ends, all right? Late policy, you have to submit absolutely everything by the August 12th. I do accept late papers, but I penalize them. I think my late policy is actually quite generous, but please get things in on time. If you have illness or family emergency or something like that come up, please let me know. I'm certainly willing to work with you, and I'm certainly to try to be understanding. Been a professor for a long time, and I'm also a dad of quite a number of kids, and so I have tried to cultivate understanding and empathy and all of that, right? So let me know what's going on if you're struggling to get things in on time. The rest of this is, I think you can read through it, okay? The one thing that I would stress is academic honesty, right? Plagiarism or using AI to compose your essays warrants a failing grade. 0 credit for any assignments that is found to be in violation of that, and so please do not do that, okay? So you see here, this is everything you need to do for the week, everything you need to read, okay? These will also, as I said, be posted under modules. And so if you go to week 1 module, right, you'll see everything you need to do for the week, all the things you need to read, all the lectures you need to watch. These video lectures are on YouTube. If you you want to make it easy, feel free to subscribe, but I'm not really looking for subscribers. I'm never going to make money off of what I do on YouTube. So, but the video lectures are there. I have tried to not go overly long on these. I've actually gotten better at this over the years. These are longer perhaps than I would like. There's one I think that's even a little over an hour, and I apologize for that. Maybe watch that in 20-minute chunks or something. But most of them are, between say 15 and 30, maybe 35 minutes. Okay. And it should be pretty thorough. So, all right, good. If you have questions, again, please post to the course logistics board. Otherwise, I look forward to interacting with you on the discussion boards and in live sessions and all of that. Thanks.